Yeah, your hair's nice, Matt.
Yeah, boy.
I love it.
The mullet's back. Hi, good evening. Welcome back to the Insiders podcast. Just a quick message from Matt here before we dive into this week's episode. We're going to be going and talking about the Surfival League and diving into all of that. Just a quick one at the top of the show. If you are going to sign up to Surfival League, if you use a referral code Insiders, it helps us out on the podcast. It'll be much appreciated. And if you need any tips, tricks, and advice on the survival, follow this conversation. We have a special guest going to join us and talk about it. But for now, thanks so much. We're about to dive into the episode. And as I said, referral code Insiders to help us out. Welcome back to the Insiders podcast. It's myself, Matt, with my esteemed co-host, and once again joining me, Darren. And we have a special guest tonight, you'll be hearing from very soon. The founder and man behind the Surfival League, the fantasy surf game league, involvement that you need to find yourself in. That is Taylor. Welcome to the Insiders, mate.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Darren, for having me. Stoked to be here.
So yeah,
You're welcome.
Stoked,
Good evening.
yeah, stoked to have you on because you're the man behind many late night decisions and many hours of regret after you've picked Griffin Colapinto at pipe, and then he doesn't make it. So why don't you quickly give us a little rundown and give our listeners a rundown of what Surfival is and like the basic rules, basically.
Yeah, definitely. So the Survival League is a survivor fantasy game that follows the World Surfing League's tour schedule. So instead of picking a fantasy surfing team, you actually only have to pick one surfer each event to advance past the round of 32. So if your surfer advances past the round of 32, you're safe and you move on to the next event. If they don't advance past the round of 32, you're out for the entire season. So we go until there's one person standing at the very end of it, and that person will be the survival champion, and they'll win $5,000 and 3 custom shaped Panda surfboards.
What if there's two guys standing at the end and there's no more events?
Yeah, so this actually has happened. This is our third year going with the Survival League. The first year we had about 6 people left at trestles. We had the second year we had about 20 left. So technically there can be multiple people left at the very end. But what we do is at the end, we actually are moving to a points-based system during the WSL finals. So you basically pick each match winner and you get correct points for each pick. If there's still a tie at the end there, we will do a tiebreaker of the final heat score. So you'll pick, let's say, out of possible 40, you'll pick maybe 32, and the person who gets closest to that heat score total will win.
Yeah.
So there will be a winner at the end.
Yeah. And I think
At the end, you're picking heat scores as well.
if needed.
Yes, if needed. So
Which was needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you'll pick the match winner. So let's say you pick the winner of 4 versus 5. Let's say it's Italo versus Felipe. You pick Felipe. If Felipe advances, you will get 100 points for that. And then you pick 3 versus 4, 2 versus 3, 2 versus 1. And then the person with the most correct picks will win. If there's a tie of those points, you will also pick the final heat score total, and that will be the tiebreaker.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you said, but so one of the rules that I love is that once you've picked a surfer, you can't pick them again. So it's not just you're going to pick John and Gabe for every event all year. You have to strategically plan your year out, or just wing it event by event, which is amazing. And it's great for people like who aren't like fully on it, I guess, as such. Like us dads, like we're always all over it, and we have like free fantasy leagues and all of that. But when you forget to pick a surfer, or you forget to change your team in fantasy because you're busy, this is just one quick thought and one quick email, basically, and then you're locked in.
Exactly right. And even if, yeah, you cannot pick the same surfer twice, but a lot of people say, you know what, this would be super easy. I'll just pick the top guys. But every single surfer in the top 10, and actually in the top in every single surfer had at least one 17th or 34th place. Even Felipe, even Italo, even Jack Robinson. There's always shockers. So you kind of have to avoid those shockers to win the Survival League.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
understanding correctly, because let's say he comes back, Gabriel Medina, and wins 7 events, and everyone picks him at pipe, so then no one else can use him again. That's where it comes into play, that as long as you get through better than 32nd place, it'll be like, if I picked what's the second event, Sunset. If I pick Jack for Sunset and Gabriel wins it, I still get Jack's. And Jack comes second. You basically, you've got the highest points anyway, haven't you?
Yeah, you don't have to pick the event winner. You just have to pick a survivor.
Let the survival boss tell us.
Yeah, it does not matter if they win the event. So you just want to pick the guy who's going to make it past the round of 32. And it's really a way to make 2 things. One, just make those early rounds more exciting, because everybody's been tuning into maybe a Brazil or even a Sunset contest when it's not pumping and it's the early rounds and you don't really care. You're like, I'll turn it on maybe past the quarterfinals. But with Survivor League, you're glued to it from the very beginning. And the second part of it is that you can get a good little community involved as well. And I know I have these multiple group text messages who are saying, hey, who do you got in the Survival League? And I'll say, hey, I got, like last year, I had John Florence for Sunset. I thought it was a dead lock pick, and he actually lost in the round of 32. And he took with him about 25% of the Survival League during that contest. So with your friends, it's hard to say, yeah, I got Felipe, I got Ethan, I got all these people on my fantasy surfing team. Whereas with Survival League, I got one guy and I'm riding with him.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is, because I entered yours last year and actually got to finals day, but at work we had a separate one, and for pipe I picked Jack Robinson, and he lost round of 32 to Jalchenko, and I thought Jack Robinson was an absolute shoo-in. But what's also funny is, and what I find makes it more interesting about not picking the winner, is sometimes I try and be too clever, or try and be too overthink it and think, well, they only need to get to this stage. So, like, for example, Sunset, I'm kind of thinking, how safe a pick is Callum Robson? Because I don't think he's going to win Sunset, but he's so suited to, he should get past that round. But then you're like, but would you pick Callum Robson over maybe a top guy? And it's
you're strategically thinking Cal Robson early on so that you're not wasting your aces. Is that it, Matt?
Kind of. And then, but that's the other funny thing, because now I'm thinking, we will go through our predictions for pipe. I'll go early. I'm going to enter for my survival pick. I think I'm going to pick John, because strategically, I'm not sure how he's going to make it to the end of the year or not.
Yeah.
So it's interesting not picking a full team, and also like your pick is reliant on one person, so kind of thing. Like, you can play fantasy and you've got 8 people. If one of them does well, or if 2 of them do well, you generally do well. Whereas this is like one person, ride or die. You have to support them, and then you could end up hating that person if they let you down.
So who did you
100%.
who did you pick then last year for pipe?
On the Surfival,
Yeah.
I followed one of the directors at Board Shop's choice, and I went for Seth Moniz.
And what about you, Taylor?
I had the GOAT, Kelly Slater.
I
He
had the
won it.
winner.
Not a bad pick.
Yeah. I was very, very close to going for Baron last year, just because Snapped 4 had just dropped, and I was like, oh, he's going to be sick. And then I think he made it, but he lost in the quarters, I think, to Kelly, which he would have still made it. But yeah, and actually, I was going to pick Jack Robinson, and the only reason I didn't is because I'd already entered him into my pick at work, and I didn't want both my work one with the real one to be the same
Hedging your
person.
bets.
Yeah. So luckily, I didn't win in the end. I still won the work one in the end because we done it a slightly different way. But yeah, luckily I changed to Seth.
How many users do you call them users? How many contestants did you have last year, Taylor?
Yeah, so we had the first year we had about 300. The second year we had about 780, and this year we're hoping we have more than 1,000.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
while we're kind of early on into the
I
chat,
saw it first on Beach Crit. They talked into it. Was it Chaz or Derek? One of them did a bit of a talk about it, or wrote an article on it.
Yeah, they both did. So that's our presenting sponsor with Beach Grit. So they're putting up the prize money, and they really help us push it. And the commentators there, they just love Survival, and it's a great community over there.
and yeah, sorry. So just while we're kind of early in the chat, how do you sign up, basically?
Yeah, so you go to our website, surfivalleague.com. You can just Google that and it'll come up. SURFIVAL /league or dash league, I should say, .com. There'll be a sign up form. It takes 2 minutes to sign up, and then you will be directed to a screen to make your pipeline pick. And once you made your pipeline pick, you're good to go. And then if you do survive, you'll get an email going out about the sunset picks and so on. And if you do not survive, you good luck next year.
If you don't survive, blame Griffin Colapinto.
And
exactly.
How much does it cost to enter?
It's $20 for an entry fee.
Okay, we've got a group here that are called the Go Homes, which is for expatriates because they used to tell us to go home, and we all put in $100 each, and then there was a few seasons running where it was you'd get $100 per event, and then at the end you got the kitty, and I won the kitty.
I was there
3 times. Yeah. That was just one of the time. I think I won 3 times, come second twice. But last year I got to send an email out. Yeah, last year it all went pear shaped because the fantasy surfers site sort of went down for the finals where you couldn't pick your surfers properly. But it's a similar thing. Get a kitty in and make every event exciting.
Yeah,
I agree.
So what are we, 2 weeks away?
Yeah, we kick off January 28th.
3 weeks.
And yeah, that's the deadline to sign up.
So yeah, okay. So we're 2 weeks out, and making picks now might, they can chop a change, but early doors, I've kind of almost gone in there and said I'm picking John. It could change.
Yep.
But between you and Darren, who are you thinking off the bat of, who's your survivor?
Yeah, I like to look at the heat draw, which the WSL does not have up just yet. But the past 2 years, and I'm such a Kelly Slater fan, and I think that he is probably the safest pick that you will not want to use later in the year, you probably could use them at Chopu or a couple of other waves. But I think Kelly Slater will be my pick at Pipeline again.
He'd have to get the Chopu too.
That's true.
If he
That's
doesn't,
true. That's another part of it. The cut is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what about you, Daz?
I'm going to have to procrastinate. What's the deadline? Is it like obviously? Is it before the first heat starts, or is it the day before?
Yeah, it's when the first heat starts. I like to the signups will go down. You have to sign up before January 28th, the day of the waiting period, but you can pick your surfer and you can also change your surfer up until the first heat starts. So if you pick one right now, you can definitely pick it. I like when everybody gets their picks in early, so I don't have to go badger everybody to do that. But it's
it's too early.
Pick it up to the first heat.
Anything could happen. Like, there could be injuries. Like, I'd like to say I want to put Gabrielle in there, but why would I use Gabrielle in the first event? But you never know, do you? You want to start off well. I would be a bit devastated to be just chucked out after the first event.
I think Pipe's one of the hardest ones to pick.
Oh no, Snapper was the hardest one to pick because that's the one that I always used to have a shocker in because it's like you pick locals, they never come through. It was like, you could pick the winner, but it was so hard to pick like who would be in the final four because it'd be the first event for the season. You haven't seen anyone go, and it would just always be completely pear-shaped.
I do agree, but then on the flip side is like at Pipe last year, no one would have seen Zhao Chanka knocking Jack Robinson out. Not in a heat. And also people like Kyra Belly always kill it. And like Sammy Pupo last year, semi-final maybe.
Yeah, but would you pick Toledo for Pipe?
Absolutely not.
Of course. So there you go. So there are some parameters you can still
of course.
look
But
at as dues that
I think for me, Pipe's the one event where
will you pick a rookie?
Yeah, so I won't, but it's the one event where, like, in the past, Barron last year was one wave away from beating Kelly, and Jarochenko like beat Jack Robbo, and he was close. He pushed John. Who Jackson Baker was one section away from making out of a wave that was a 10, and these were all rookies. And also, you look at this year's rookie class, like the wave Leo put up the other day was mental and stuff. And like, if Leo gets Kelly in a third round heat, I think Leo's got him 3-0.
Leo's a great pick for Pipe.
So I think Pipe's the one where there's more surfers who can. Like, I think when it's a wave, let's say J-Bay, for example, I think I can go through and be like, nah, he's going to smoke him. He's going to smoke him. Whereas Pipe's just like, it's got that little bit of specialty about it. It's why it makes it so exciting as well.
Is there a stats page, Taylor, like where we see, probably not before an event, but after an event, do we see the percentage of people that took each surfer, etc., stuff like that?
Yeah, so we don't share the stats of who everybody else is picking until the picks are closed. But I do have some stats on the survival rates of these surfers through Pipeline for historical.
But I mean more through the season. Will we see like after the first event who picked, like how many people went for who?
Yes. Right after the picks close, we'll get those emails out with the spreadsheet of who everybody picked.
Yeah, that's good for a rainy afternoon as well. You go, see what the general feel is.
Well, it's also good.
And it's crazy the survival rate. So Old Surf Dad, who runs a great YouTube channel, he pulled some survival rates. So percentage of surfers who get past the round at 32. Kelly Slater is at 92%, so he's pretty safe. John 82%, Medina 80%, these ones are interesting. Italo only 57%, Felipe 56%, Jordy 45%. Leonardo, you were mentioning is great there. He has a 75% survival rate.
Mad.
Griffin Colapinto, we call it the Colapinto Curse
Yeah.
because he was responsible for over 60% of the Survival League going out last year, and he has a 25% survival rate at pipe. Another interesting one I always think is Zeke Lau. Zeke Lau, after 4 pipeline events, has never made it past the round of 32.
Yeah, no, he does. He does. And then
Yeah,
everyone,
savage.
so you wouldn't pick him at all, and then everyone will try and pick him for Sunset. He'd be a great pick for Sunset because
Yep.
you'd think that's out of the full calendar. That's one event where he would be on a hand of favorites, sort of thing.
And this is why it's
Yes.
perfect, because you like, this is why I love Surfival, is because if you actually don't look at it event by event, but if you look at it by a year, you shoe in Zeke for Sunset, but then you're thinking, well, who else might I pick for Sunset? And you're like, oh well, where like last year I made it to the finals. I didn't use Italo all year. And that's weird because he finished in the top 5. But at every event, I was kind of had someone who I thought was a better pick than Italo. And I don't like how he serves. But
Is it smarter to wait till Margaret's before you throw your John card in the ring?
see, that's what I done. So last year I put John was my Margaret River surfer. I locked that in, like that was done deal. But I just worry. I just kind of always I've got that fear this year that if I don't use him for pipe and then he gets injured at a wave break like Portugal or somewhere, could I have used him? But
Am I right though? In like I'm somewhere confused here, but I'm remedial. We do we still get points each event for the surfer you pick?
no,
It doesn't
No,
count. It's just
it doesn't matter.
It's just pure survival.
Yes.
Stay alive.
Stay alive.
Good. Simple.
exactly.
Super simple.
That's the beauty
Political.
of it.
I say if you
Julian Wilson would have killed people back in the day.
Oh, fact. Yeah, yeah. Think about, actually, that's a really good point. Who back in the day would have been that killer? Like, I think Julian would have been a killer. I think Ace Buckham would have been a silent, safe bet. He always seemed to be like,
It sounds so easy just getting past around 32. And I know it's not going to be fucking easy like that.
it's so
For
savage.
sure.
It honestly, it keeps you like you
Especially when you get to what's the one in South? Oh, they're not doing it again, are they? Surf City.
El Salvador. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it gets to somewhere like that, and you've already used up 5 or 6 people, and who knows who's gonna.
So Daz, last year I made it to the finals day, and then I had basically made a bit of a mistake on the ruling and thought I couldn't pick someone I already picked. So I put all first pick was Kanoa and lost.
No, there you go. First heat is what side of the draw is Trestles? Is it after the cut? Yes.
Trestles.
yes,
Yes.
the final.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. But
Not Trestles. Sorry, the pool.
yeah, I was about to ask that actually. Is how does the pool
It's
work?
got to be. It's after the
Yeah.
cut.
So the first year we did Survival League was when Lamore, the Surf Ranch Pro, was in it. We actually skipped the event.
Okay.
This
It's
year,
a shit fight.
yeah, this year I'm not quite sure what we're gonna do. They have it's a different heat structure, so we might skip it, but that's something I got to think about.
No, you're
Yeah.
better off to work something out to not skip it because
Yeah,
as mundane as it can seem, I actually don't. I'm like I've never even been in a pool ever, and
me
maybe
neither.
won't. But I actually don't mind the event just because of the pressure situation.
Yeah,
I don't think I can watch it all, But I
I
think,
have
and
to,
then I think
yeah.
that can add to it where you could say, okay, if they don't make it through to whatever, you'll work it out. It's your game, not mine. But I just think the pools, it's got something. I mean,
Yeah, I
surfing's
agree.
changed so much over the last 30 years that why not have at least, well, not at least, not more than one pool event in the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We won't skip it this year. We're gonna figure out something. It just will be probably different than getting past the round of 32 because I don't know if the round of 32 exists in the pool. So I'll look at the structure. You'll have to get past a certain round, and I think it will make Lemoore more exciting. And I actually wrote a piece for Beach Grit in defense of the Lemoore contest, and I said basically exactly that. Like, it's just so much pressure, and you really see the flaws in people surfing. Even though it's hard for me to watch for 6 hours a day, it is good to tune in
That's
every
the
once in a while.
heartbeat, isn't it? But it's actually like, look, where was it? Was it the last one? Owen Wright made the top 5, and that's logical because the dude's got a perfect style. He's good frontside,
Yep,
backside. He's incredibly fluid. All these things, and all of a sudden, when you get to the pool, you actually see the best dudes. The cream rises to the topper.
exactly.
For me, with the wave pool, I actually think that the problem's the judging, not the surfing. Because
Potentially,
there was a year when Julian Wilson on the backside done by far the best air by a million miles. It
or
was the best air. It
more
was
because it was a variation sort of thing.
yeah, but
Wasn't the
it was
best
the
by a
most
million miles.
it was the most technical air, and the judges didn't understand it in terms of how technical the air was, and they scored it as if it was kind of like a same as a like backside rotation or whatever. And then on the front side, he done the best there again of the front side, and didn't get the score. And I remember watching it thinking, and I think there was a really high level. I think there was an air guy who kind of came onto Instagram afterwards and commented about it as well. And he said the problem is the judges don't know how technical those airs were, so they can't score them properly.
Or also, do you have to finish your wave there?
Yeah.
I think it's important for the judging end.
Obviously, like if you don't, you can't like get it can you? If you don't finish the wave, but does it? Well, we'll soon see. Does it
Also,
create a culture where people aren't putting risk on the first turn? But that's why I actually like it. That's what they do in a snowboard run at the Olympics or something like that.
yeah, see, I was about to reference that a snowboard run, or I've watched a lot of like Street League from skateboarding, and
Mhm.
I watch a lot
they,
of women's ice skating as well.
good effort. But with what the other thing I was going to say is with the judging is if you say Medina's the perfect example for the pool. Is he actually knows what he's going to do before he surfs, and
You think?
but he does that 5 times in a row
Yep.
basically. And I personally think if he nails the run once, or if he does the run once, the second time he does the same run should be scored down. He should be encouraged and forced to do more. Like here's that score for that run, whether he does it clean or not. Now go bigger. That's what you get in snowboarding. If you don't continuously go bigger, you won't continuously improve your score.
Well, in
Yeah, and
female ice skating, it's not just female. In ice skating, they've got don't know. I think they've got like a small list of things that they've got to tick the boxes.
Yeah, yeah, they have a
yeah, in ice
criteria.
skating, you actually, I'm pretty sure you submit your run, what you're going to do, and then they give you a score of the difficulty, and they add that to your. I don't know exactly how it works, but
Yeah, yeah,
they basically it's
But
like
you've
a it's
also
a
got to do. I think you've got to do like, for example, 6 tricks, which are
yep.
part of
yeah,
their curriculum.
yeah. And then I think it's like in the curriculum it will say you have to do a jump, and then you name what
Yeah,
jump
so
you
if
want to
they put
do.
you have to do an hour in Lemore, that'd fucking turn it
Yeah, and then
up,
it
wouldn't
and
it?
then it and then if you submitted, oh, I'm just going to do a chop hop, your degree of difficulty is 1.0. Whereas if you said, "Oh, I'm gonna go and do a 540," your degree of difficulty is 10, and you get like a
Yep.
multiplier. I mean, it's all to think about, because this is why
Let's
Lemore's
not
on.
lose track.
Yeah, this is why Lemore's on the tour, is because it gets people talking so much. But
And that's why it's got to be on Surfival.
yeah,
Yes, let's do it.
and also
We're doing it.
You can put me down now. Felipe's my pick anyway. So whatever strategy you come up
You're
with,
keeping him for the pool.
100%.
And then it starts scratch for the finals, obviously, on finals day. Is that how it works? Clean
Yeah,
slate.
you don't have to save anybody for finals day.
Yeah,
That's the mistake I made last year. So last year I didn't look at it properly, and I hadn't used Kanoa all year, and then was like, I have to use him.
Oh, silly Matt.
And I and the funny thing is, I hadn't used Italo either, so I could have chose Italo. But yeah,
My screen bugged on Felipe Italo a whole bunch of times for my picks. And I was like, well, fuck it, I'm just keeping them. And then it wasn't working properly. And then when I'd go to save it, it had flipped one of them out. I can't remember who I had left. I think I only had Toledo left. So I only had one surfer, and it just kept doing it. And then I was like, if it had have just stayed on that bug, how did you create this game? Have you got the computer skills for this, or have you got some sort of tech buddy?
Yeah, so I'm a one-man operation. I am better at the marketing and gameplay than the tech of it. It's fairly manual, but it's very simple to run because you're just picking one surfer. There's not a lot of tech involved. So basically,
Yeah,
I'm just emailing you a form.
you don't have
Actually,
a ton of algorithms.
Yeah, you log into the website actually, and you basically fill out a form, and then it gets saved to a spreadsheet, and then I share that spreadsheet after the picks are made.
So what are you going to do when you got 10,000 users?
That is a good question. I am saving up portions of the money to build out the tech because I do have ideas for more games and even event by event games. So I'm in talks with a couple developers to actually build out a legit website that you can play pipeline games and sunset games and other different types of games as well.
I
I just
guess
think
then
that
you'd have
there's
to
a
employ someone as well. You'd have to
yeah, that
employ Joe Lucky, client service.
exactly. Yeah, I just think there's a market for more fantasy type surfer games with I mean, I don't think that the WSL cares that much about their fantasy game. It's they're always late to it. They don't put a lot of thought into it, it seems
No,
like.
no, it's not pushed at
Um
all, is it? I don't even
yeah,
think it's
so
that good.
yeah, I'm trying to take over that market.
have you ever heard of, sidebar, but in England there's a company called Betfair, and basically their model is you go online and you just, so say for example, I would go online, I'd go onto their thing, and I would say, does anybody want to bet me that John doesn't win pipe? I'll give you 3-1 odds. And then someone can come along and go, yeah, I'll bet you a tenner that John does win pipe. So then, and like, it's like person to person. They've obviously, it's a lot deeper than just a website where people can put wages in because they have to make sure people pay and stuff. But it's almost like you could do something as a community wise, something similar with surfing, is where you have a website where people could go on and go, I reckon like heat by heat, you could put, like, I could say to Daz, I'll bet you a tenner on the winner of this round one, like heat 5. And you just do it between yourselves, but it's done via a website. It's quite a clever thing as well. But
You could bet
That
with
sounds
Kelly.
awesome.
what's that, Daz?
You could bet with Kelly if you could get him online and say, "I'll dare you, come on."
Well, yeah, I mean, Yeah, exactly. It's like you can just bet. I mean, you can bet against random people, or again, you can make it a community thing and be like, "Does anyone want to bet against me?" Um, that's what they do now. Is they basically have like betting experts who will say, "Right, who's backing what I'm backing, or who's not backing what I'm backing," kind of thing. It's quite clever, but yeah.
Another off-grid question: what was the surf like near you the last few days when you had that massive swell?
So there was a lot of weather with the surf. Crazy winds, crazy rains. I had a bad ear infection that kept me out of the water last week, unfortunately. But I'm on the central coast of California where there's not a ton of sheltered nooks and crannies to direct that swell in a way that you can actually ride. There was the harbor by my house was going off. There was this little pier that never breaks that was getting good. And then further south, the points like Rincon and a couple of those Santa Barbara points were really, and Sandspit were going off. So
Okay, they were
I'm
good
just
then.
I'm just a little bit north of that though.
It was 30 foot out front at one of my locals today. Huh?
Wow.
Easy. And then tomorrow it drops back down to 15 to 20 foot. Then the day after it goes back up to 30 to 40 foot. It's fucking
We're getting battered.
Armageddon week.
Yeah, we're getting battered by wind here. It's like 45-mile-an-hour
Will
wind
you get
every
waves
day.
out of this though, Matt?
Not really. I could drive to Bournemouth, which is about an hour and 20 minutes away.
To get out of the wind.
Yeah, they've got a pier. So Bournemouth's got a pier, but it's quite a substantial pier. So you can surf off of the pier and it wraps around. But I'll only be able to do that Saturday because obviously work Monday
I
to
was going to
Friday.
go down to Guitarri in the morning and try and surf, but it's guaranteed to be 12 to 15 foot, and it's just been hammering wind all
What about
day.
Hyundai? Will Hyundai work?
Yeah, but I'm painting my living room, and I'm not going to go and surf 3 foot Hyundai in a 20 foot swell just to surf. It'll take me 4 hours just to do that for an average surfer, and I'm better off to paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does so Taylor, where you are, it's quite sharky, like from our last conversation, like we had off air.
Yes.
Does this weather like kick up activity, or does it like drop it off, or
Yeah. So the river mouths are flowing. There's a ton. It's cow country out here, so there's a ton of fertilizer that gets dumped into the ocean. So it's super murky and brown. And actually,
Oh,
last Christmas Eve, my local break here, somebody got on a stormy, surfy day. This boogie boarder actually got chomped and killed
oh wow.
out here. So yeah, it definitely. I That's another reason why I kind of stay out when it's this rainy because the river mouths are just flowing.
One other thing I was going to say is, so listeners to this podcast have made it this far, so
Yep.
I think they should be rewarded for that as such,
Yes.
or shown that faith. So for the listeners, we're going to set up basically a referral code. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
For the Insiders listeners, and
Yes.
just so they're aware, there's no money off for that or anything like that. You still have to pay your $20.
No. Yep. Exactly.
But
And
what that
it's
will do,
basically you sign up you just say your name and then underneath it says referral code and we'll make the code insiders
yeah,
and but if any variation of that works you can just say like
yeah,
insiders pod insider podcast whatever.
exactly. So, and what
Yep.
that does, that will just help you and us kind of
Yep.
hopefully track who signed up just basically from listening to this, which then
Exactly.
gives us good hearts because we all do it anyway. And so what we
Yes.
will do is not joined by you every time because you're a busy man and you're running it. But every single time that an event happens, me and Darren beforehand, we will announce our picks. We'll probably do
Cool.
a specialist pipe episode because he hasn't picked tonight, and I might change my mind.
Yep.
But so everyone's going to hear our picks, so they go live. So there's going to be no hiding for us. And
Cool.
everyone, we would love it if everyone jumped on our DMs on Instagram, the Insiders Podcast Instagram, and told us who you're picking, put your neck on the line,
Yes.
and then we can start that community as well. And we can, we'll definitely comment back. And if you lose, we will come and take the mick out of you. And if you get through,
Perfect.
then we'll congratulate you.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, perfect. You use our referral code, and that would be really helpful to us. What I
Yep.
did want to ask is, because you're a surfer to surfer, or surfer to surfers for listeners.
Yes.
Um, we always do a do's and don'ts on our podcast
Yep.
when it's just me and Darren, we do them weekly. When we have any special guest, we ask them. And the pros, I'm gonna call them out. The pros are a bit rubbish at it because
Okay.
they just say things like be nice to everyone in the lineup and don't drop in on
Yep.
people, which is absolutely fine when you're a pro and you could do it air rev, and everyone gives you all the
Yep.
space and time. But from you to us, this could be literally anything to do with surfing. But what would you want to pass on as a surfing do and a surfing don't to our listeners?
Yeah, I'll start out with the don't. I would say don't show up to especially a new break with a car full of guys.
Yeah.
Every time I'm surfing and I look towards in the parking lot or towards the beach and I see 5 guys paddling out with each other, that's a definite don't. And if you do that, stagger your paddle outs a little bit. Like maybe 1 or 2 guys go and then the next 2 goes. Like we don't have to use the buddy system here. Surf alone or surf with one other guy. A do would be, what is this? Let's see. I would say I would just be respectful. Don't just paddle out and catch the first wave because you can. Uh, Honor the locals, I would say, especially if you're visiting a new spot. And but also just remember we're surfing and don't get eggy out there.
It's good. That was like 4 in 1, so that would tick a lot
Yeah.
of boxes. It's hard being asked on the spot, isn't it?
Yes, it
I
is. And
literally,
I was a surf instructor I mean, I still am. I ran a surf school for 10 years. So I could give you a lot of like beginners dues, but I don't think anybody listening to this needs them.
yeah. So yeah, I literally walk around, like I walk my dog 3 times a day and stuff, or I'll be at work and I'll see something and I just go into my notes on my phone, because doing it weekly, to think of a do and a don't weekly,
Yeah.
is just so, like, it's funny how it's so hard it is, and then one will just come to
Yes.
you.
And I actually got another don't. So the thing that probably pisses me off the most about the internet age in surfing is when I see people and my friends do this and they are good surfers and they should know better, but is to post pictures of Instagram to Instagram in real time of how the surf is. So they'll be checking it at 7 a.m. and it's pumping and they pull out their phone and they take a video and you're broadcasting to however many hundreds of people out there how the surf is there before you paddle out. And I just don't understand that. Like it's so much better to fine. I don't care. Take photos. That's awesome. Take videos. That's great. But post it once the swell has died because it's so much more rad to see a photo when it's flat or windy and people are like, whoa, when was this? And it
Yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah.
you don't have to do it in real time.
I completely agree. And also, because we have that here a lot, we have, where my local spot is probably the closest surf spot to London.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the most consistent to London, even though it's not consistent. So if the forecast looks good for 3 or 4 days, and especially on a weekend, you're getting a busy time anyway. And then a couple of we've got a coffee shop local to us, who on a
Yeah.
Thursday or a Friday will post saying like, forecast looks great this weekend, blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
then on the day they'll do the live video. But the same people that run it will then paddle out and then moan about how many people are in the lineup. And I'm like,
Yes.
it's your fault. Like, I'm just
Yes.
like, you broadcast it to everybody.
Yes.
So I get that as well. That's a good one because, yeah,
Yep.
it's a funny one in the surf world. But yeah, no worries. Well, we won't keep you like it's the middle of your day, so you don't want to be kept too much longer. Just
Yeah.
one final question then. So, when will the sign up be live?
So the sign up is actually live now.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah, sign up is live now. So go get it.
Get on. I'll be sharing. We'll be picking. Me and Daz will get involved. And yeah, thanks so much for your time, man.
I actually have a if you want to keep, let me give you one more do in case, because I think my other do sucked.
Yeah,
Okay. So my do is take care of your body, especially as you're getting older. Uh, and the importance of strength and flexibility and not drinking too much, not partying too much, I think is important and something I'm learning as I approach my mid 30s. So doing
yeah.
all that yoga stuff and all the stuff that I thought I would never do in my 20s, I'm starting to do, and I wish I did it sooner. So
Everyone says that. Everyone says like,
yes,
and don't wait for so don't on the back of your do is don't wait for your injury to come to then do the work you should have done, like the
exactly
yoga
right.
and stretching. Stretching is so important. My wife made me do one of her workouts yesterday, a leg like thigh and bum workout, and I didn't stretch before or after, and I can barely walk today. So
Oof,
stretching is a definite look after yourself do.
100%. But at least your bum is tight now.
Oh, yeah. Legend. Thanks so much, mate. Have a good day.
All right, Matt, you too. See
Take
ya.
care. Bye bye.
Bye.